this is, I think, one of the important topics of the day. By that I mean not just today, but in the contemporary era, that's China's sustainability challenge. Before I reintroduce our speakers today, the 4 speakers, I want to just quickly make 2 notes. One is about the past, one is about the future. The past, as you have heard so far this afternoon, that Colombia has a long historical tie with China, and has educated generations of statesmen, diplomats, educators, artists, and so on. But also, I want to also highlight another important contribution that Colombia has made, and that is in science field to China's development of science field in China. In fact, that Columbia University also has educated many scientists who returned to China and who have made, in turn, much contribution to China's scientific and technological field. One person I want to highlight is last year's China's top scientific award, Dr. Xu Guangxian of Peking University. He is now, of course, retired. He's a Columbia PhD. I think he has a PhD in chemistry, and received that top award from President Hu Jintao last year. So that, I think, is one example of how Colombia has contributed to the scientific development in China. Since this last panel will have some scientists and will address some issues related to science, and I want to highlight that. Now, for the future, as many of you noticed that in recent development of U.S.-China relations and looking forward, one of the important dimension is or will be the climate change. As Secretary Clinton during her visit highlighted, and as Speaker Nancy Pelosi during her most recent visit highlighted, that the cooperation between U.S. and China on climate change will be a key issue in this important bilateral relations. Now, the last session will have 4 speakers. One speaker is not here, but he will speak via video, and then he's Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, and he needs not much of an introduction. He's the director of the Earth Institute. It's hard to translate, but I will translate into 地球研究院 of Columbia, and of course, Earth Institute has become one of the most influential scientific and public policy research institute in not only the United States, but in the world. Professor Sachs also is a professor of economics, and he also is a special advisor to the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon on the Millennium Development Goals. And he holds many other positions I would refrain from and give you each one of them. Now, also we have Robert Chen. Dr. Chen is a scientist. He's a director of the Center for International Earth Science Information Network, or CSIN. And also he's Earth Institute research. This is a center under the Earth Institute, and he also done much of work in the U.S.-China collaboration on the scientific information and much else too. And then we have John Mutter, Dr. John Mutter, who is also a member of Earth Institute. Dr. Mutter is, I believe, he's Australian, but he also has his PhD from Columbia, with double Columbia. He's now a professor from Columbia, and he also has our program in sustainable PhD program in sustainable development in the School of Public Policy, International Public Policy of Columbia. Finally, we have an alum in Erica Helms. Erica has done much work in China. I think since 2006, she has been the director of Jingudao Institute in China. She's a CEPA grad, and so her perspective will be on the NGO work and environmental issues in China. And without further ado, I will have Jeffrey Sachs speak first.
Hi, this is Jeff Sachs, Director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University. Thank you so much for letting me join this celebration of China and Colombia 60 years. I'm delighted to be part of it and only wish I could be with you in person. Thank you also for the panel on China's Sustainability Challenge. This is one of the most crucial challenges that China faces, but the challenge of sustainability is absolutely at the core of global challenges as well. We live in a crowded and interconnected planet now, and what happens in any part of the world affects all the rest. The U.S. long has been the world's major emitter of greenhouse gases, and that is affecting climates in all parts of the world. China, in overall terms, because of its vast population, has now apparently become the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases, even overtaking the United States. China's sustainability challenges are profound and multifaceted. Here is a vast population, nearly 20% of the world's population, living on about 7% of the world's land area, and a lot of that very sparsely inhabited, so some of the highest population densities in the world, tremendous stresses on water, on biodiversity, on habitat, polluted rivers, polluted air. We all know this. China's had the world's greatest success in history in economic development, in the massive reduction of poverty. We salute China for these accomplishments, but we know that the challenge still remains, still lies ahead of combining the economic progress that China is achieving and that we so much support and long for, combined with a sound, responsible, and sustainable environmental strategy. Now, I'm thrilled also that not only will there be an important panel just now, but Columbia University, through the Earth Institute, and the National Development and Reform Commission, the NDRC, will be carrying out for a number of years to come a major project looking exactly at this issue of China's sustainability. We call it the China 2049 project. The idea, of course, is to look ahead to the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, which will be in 2049, to ask how environmental, economic, demographic trends will shape China and how China can shape those trends to achieve the prosperity and the dynamism and the sustainability of China's society, a goal that we all strongly support. In the China 2049 project, we've identified several core areas of work. One is, of course, the macroeconomic crisis right now because it's unfolding, it's sharp. China-U.S. economic relations are crucial. A second, looking more towards the medium term and the long term, is China's energy sustainability. What kinds of energy systems, how to move to a lower emissions energy system, whether it's in power generation and transport or in other key energy using sectors. A third is water. China's water crisis, of course, in the relatively dry northern part of China, but really all over China, is critical and likely to get worse. Groundwater is being depleted, rivers are polluted, and many cities are finding they don't have the access to safe drinking water that they once had because of the pollution or because of the diversion of water upstream or because of changes coming from climate changes. And we have to consider that with the melting glaciers in the Himalayan Tibetan plateau, the challenges for water will become even greater, with the depletion of groundwater in many places also greater. So water is the third of the major areas. A fourth is urban design and urban planning. What kinds of cities will China have? China has almost 100 cities of more than 1 million people now, and that number continues to grow. It's the greatest network of urbanization, of course, by far, of any country in the world. And the numbers of people coming into the urban areas will expand by hundreds of millions more. Thinking through what will be sustainable cities from the point of view of pollution, the point of view of carbon and greenhouse gases, the point of view of public health, the point of view of quality of life, of transport systems and the like, is essential. China can pioneer new forms of creative urban settlement with a tradition that goes back millennia. So this is a very exciting fourth area. And the fifth area that we'll be working on is the scaling up of health systems in China, another major challenge for an aging society and for a society ready to invest more public resources as well as private resources in the public health of China's very large population. So China 2049 is an expression of Columbia University and the Earth Institute's long-term commitment to working with our partners in China, our scientific colleagues, our policy colleagues, our colleagues in the business community, to do what we can to help China in its great quest for sustainable development, full well knowing that China's leadership in these successes will play a wonderful and constructive role all over the world as well. Have a great celebration. Thank you for letting me be there, and I'm looking forward to being back in Beijing very, very soon indeed.